Is it already that time of the week? That's right, it sure is. Today I'm going to be doing an advanced look at some of these collected editions coming out from Marvel this week, so please stay tuned. And welcome back, everybody. Before getting started, a huge thank you to David Gabriel and the folks at Marvel for sending us advanced copies of these collected editions. All of these trades, epic collections, complete collections, or just anthologies, or trade paperbacks are all due out in the direct market on July 28th, and then a few weeks later in the book market. So yes, we do have quite a lot of King in Black, so let's go ahead and get started with the King in Black. Again, before I do get started though, I always like to put timestamps in the description of the video so you can jump around and skip the ones you're not interested in. Gwenom versus Carnage. So here is the trade paperback collecting this miniseries, as well as a couple of other one-shots, such as Scream right there. So, Gwenom versus Carnage. Not going into spoiler territory, but I'm pretty sure I've already covered who the Spider-Gwen character was from Earth 65. Not going to go into detail about that, but this kind of shows you what's happening to her since the symbiote's taken over her. So she's still Ghost Spider, but she now has the powers of Venom. So she's got a little bit of the, well, hence the name Gwenom. So that's what's going on through this particular miniseries. It's only 3 issues, and this also collects King in Black Scream and King in Black Spider-Man. Thought King in Black Spider-Man would have more than one shot, but it's just a one shot. So let's keep going, because there is a new Carnage. Now, is this Earth 65 Carnage? Is Nolan Earth 65, or is this take place in our universe, in our 616 universe? One way to find out, of course, is to read the book, but I'm mainly showcasing the artwork and talking a little bit about the plot. So the plot is literally what the title states. It's Gwenom, the Earth 65 Gwen Stacy, versus this new Carnage. It's a female Carnage, and who it is, well, that's a mystery. Well, for you all, anyway. And as far as the other one-shots, we have the return of Andy Benton, this young lady right here, who now goes as Scream. And she is fighting the Demogoblin. So all of this takes place during the King in Black, after Absolute Carnage. Because some things have changed, of course. Now, the Demogoblin is somebody that most of us in the 90s know who the Demogoblin was, but the Demogoblin is somebody that we've seen before if you've read Spider-Man for a while. And of course, those changes all took place within Absolute Carnage. The book, by the way, retails for $15.99 and has 136 pages. Now, let's look at this Spider-Man one-shot. Here we go. So this one's written by Jed MacKay, and it is drawn by Michelle Banditti. And man, do I really like her artwork. Banditti's artwork is awesome. And the main thing about this particular one-shot is that this is the return of a character that I really liked. I was a big fan of Avengers Avengers Academy, Avengers Initiative, and that was Reptile, who showed up in the, Marvel Superhero Squad, I think? Something like that. It was a cartoon. That's where he first showed up. But this shows how they team up and handle the King in Black. Interesting to see Peter Parker take a step back from not being in the spotlight of such a huge event. Now, as far as the extras, holy crap. Oh my gosh, those are stunning. These are the variant covers. One of them is the second printing right here for the Carnage, and this one here is the first printing, or the variant of the first printing. Those are ones by In-Hyuk Lee. Oh man, they are gorgeous. Here's some more variants, and then thumbnail variants, including the Deadpool versus Venom there by Rob Liefeld. Let's keep going. King in Black Avengers. So this isn't a mini-series. This is just a collection of one-shots about different characters from the Avengers, or that have ever been Avengers. And honestly, it's hit and miss. Some of them are solid, some of them are, they're okay. And it's going to be interesting to see how and if they collect all of these in a King in Black omnibus, hypothetically speaking, of course, if there ever is one. So, what exactly does this collect? Well, I'm pretty sure you know by now this collects Black Panther, the King in Black one-shot, also Captain America, Ghost Rider, Immortal Hulk, Iron Man, and Doom, which is freaking awesome, and Wiccan and Hulkling one-shots. So all of these are just one-shots that take place during The King in Black. The book retails for $19.99 and has 200 pages. So yes, of course, the first arc is about the attack on Wakanda and how T'Challa and his family and his friends all try to defend their nation against this new coming threat. Then we go to the Captain America storyline, which really focuses on not just Captain America, but Falcon, Winter Soldier, and other Captain America characters. Now, here's the interesting thing about this. Oh, I really like this Ghost Rider story because it features the return of some characters that I've always liked in new ways. So, one of the things that I do have to say is that if they do an omnibus of The King in Black, it's going to be so difficult to know where to put these stories. I'm pretty sure it'll be handled like the Absolute Carnage, where, well, at least I hope to put the issues of Venom in between. But these miniseries, while some of them, or one-shots, while some of them are fun, I think they'll just end up fluffing out the story more. And, you know, I'm kind of one of these people that's in between, somewhere in between. Like, I want some issues, the important issues in between the main event, the main miniseries. I don't want them all. The others can be put in the back. But then who's to say what's important and what isn't? This story's freaking awesome. And it's written by Cantwell, who's currently writing Iron Man and wrote that Doctor Doom series. Doctor Doom on a bear? Need I say more? There is an Immortal Hulk in here that I'm sure if there ever is an omnibus of Immortal Hulk will be collected in those pages. This one right here. And of course, since all of this took place during Christmas time, and some of the stories are Christmas-centric, such as this one. This one is also a silent story. It's drawn by Aaron Cooter, so there's no dialogue here. And if you're asking yourself, why is Hulk so damn skinny, you need to catch up and read Immortal Hulk. Now, I can't show very many pages, just a couple more, and that's it. You kind of get the idea of what's happened here. Hulk versus a bunch of Null creatures, or symbiotes. Then it all wraps up. The story was so fun, with the King in Black, Wiccan, and Hulkling. So it's about this newly married couple fighting off against the forces of Null. Now, in the back, this is where some of the variant covers are, and then others are in between the chapters. That's an awesome Aaron Cooter cover. That's Peach Momoko. Then, of course, character designs. And more character designs. Thunderbolts. King in Black, but still, just got to see the name Thunderbolts in there again. They're back, but not really. It's not my Thunderbolts, but that's okay. You know, this is still a Thunderbolt team. You have Taskmaster, Batrick, Rhino, Star, Mr. Fear there, and then a couple of other surprises in there. So, Thunderbolts... never mind. If you haven't read Thunderbolts, I'm not going to give away what Thunderbolts is about. All you have to know is that some of them used to be villains, and it's more like a Suicide Squad. Not all of them make it out alive. And that's exactly what this is. There's been different incarnations of them throughout the years, and this is the latest one, and they're all brought together by this guy right here, the Kingpin. So this is the Kingpin's Thunderbolts. Bolts. Uncanny Omar talked pretty one day. The Kingpin's Thunderbolts. So he gathers this new team together to fight off against the oncoming forces of Null and his symbiotes, mainly the big dragons that are coming and attacking the city, because he's a good guy that way. And if you haven't been reading Spider-Man or Daredevil, I'll let you find out why exactly is Kingpin doing something like this. Now, the most fun I've had was with this particular series, though. Right off the bat... characters die left and right. One of them just says, hey, I'm leaving. I don't want to play anymore. But the best part I can't even show you is if you... see, that's the thing. I think with these, you almost have to read the main event first and then come back and read these, because something happens in issue 3, and all I'll say is, if you're a fan of Weekend at Bernie's, that issue 3, freaking awesome. But if you haven't read the King in Black event, that you don't know, you're going to be spoiled in issue 3 as to who dies and what this body is doing ripped in half and who is this person. So that's why I'm talking about the mapping. Sometimes I think it's okay to put the main event and then just a few issues in between, and then keeping the miniseries somewhere else. So, But that's, yeah, issue 3. This miniseries was awesome. I've really enjoyed it. And then in the back, we have the King in Black Marauders. So this collects a 3-issue miniseries of the King in Black Thunderbolts, and then the one-shot of the Marauders. This one retails for $15.99 and has 112 pages. So this is basically the same thing. It's the Marauders fighting off against Null's dragons on the island of Krakoa. Oh, I'm sorry, on an island. Just leave it at that. But it showcases the characters that have been appearing in Kate Pryde's Marauders. As far as the extras in the back, there are some variant covers back here. I really like that Bernard Chang cover right there of Taskmaster. Oh, that's a nice cover. That's Stefano Caselli. Some sketches, some of the art process here. I love when they include stuff like this. It's that time where we check out the spines. Please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and ring that bell for notifications. All that does help with our YouTube algorithm and our channel keep growing. Alright, I think that's good enough, right? Let's keep going. Reign of X, Volume 2. I showed the spine just a little bit ago, but the main thing I do want to showcase here, just so there's no confusion, is what it contains. So this does have New Mutants 14, Marauder 16, Excalibur 16, X-Force 15 and 16, and Adjectiveless X-Men number 17. Now I do that because sometimes solicitations are off and people get confused as to what's supposed to be in the book and what isn't. So here we are. It does contain all those stories. I just read this a few days ago, and the Dawn of X era was a lot of fun. So it's interesting to see where the characters are now after the 10 of Swords or X of Swords. And can I just say how much, I think I may have said this already, how much I love Rod Reyes' artwork. It's such a Bill Sienkiewicz love letter to that era of New Mutants. And this is also written by Vita Ayala. The issue that I have with New Mutants, though, is that it has so many characters. And that, I mean, that's not that bad of a thing, but sometimes that can be too much. By the way, always Honey Badger. That's what she'll always be. Not a fan of what Mariko Tamaki did to her name, but anyway, yeah. She will always be Honey Badger to me. Now, what else is collected in here is the issue of Marauders, where Kate actually gets her revenge on Sebastian Shaw, and Tini Howard and Marcos To. The issue here of Excalibur, and say what you will about them, whether you like the series or not like the series, it's nice to see a creative team stick with an ongoing series this long. And I know that feels ridiculous, to say, especially of those of us, who grew up in the 80s and the 90s, or people that grew up in the 60s and the 70s, where, creative teams stayed on a book for ages. Like Chris Claremont, or it's just unheard of for anybody these days to stay on a book for more than 2 years. Is kind of crazy. But yeah, here we are with them still writing and drawing the adventures of these characters from Excalibur, and then we have the ramifications of what happened in X-Force in the last story arc with the betrayal, maybe. Then we have some new mysteries, because we have some dead bodies that are animated and showing up on the shore. So it's up to X-Force to defend Krakoa against these walking zombies, maybe. And then, yes, we finally get an issue of X-Men, Adjectiveless X-Men, with Brett Booth on it. Now, I talked about the 90s just a few seconds ago, but Brett Booth, and even X-Factor issues or costumes here for Jean and Cyclops. Brett Booth is a very 90s artist. He was inspired heavily by Jim Lee. But sometimes I want that in my comic. He was known for co-creating, was it Backlash, I think? He has drawn X-Men in the past before, especially during Chris Claremont's return to X-Men. The first time he came back to X-Men, he drew some issues. So it's nice to see him working with a script by Jonathan Hickman. And it's just so dynamic. It's so different. It definitely stands out. And we have some appearances by the Shi'ar here, along with Smasher, a character that, well, she's been part of the Imperial Guard for a long time, but this is the latest incarnation, and she was created during the Hickvengers run. Alright, let's get to the back here. Looking at some art process. And that's it. The book has 160 pages, retails for $17.99. And yes, what you aren't seeing are any variants. I didn't notice any when I was reading. I know sometimes they put them in between chapters, but I really didn't notice any of them. And I just read this a couple of days ago, so I don't think this one has any variants. By Crumb, Conan, the Curse of the Golden Skull, which is probably one of the best Conan stories ever. We'll talk about that here in a few. But this is volume 3 of the Conan, the original Marvel years epic collection. So collecting the years 1973 to 1974. And collecting issues 27 to 42 of Conan the Barbarian. And the material for manual number 1. And when I say material, I mean like a page and a cover. So, continuing Roy Thomas's take on the classic Sumerian. So, Robert E. Howard's property, and Roy Thomas adapting it to comic book format with Big John Buscema on art. And I think it's in this volume, in this particular epic collection, that John Buscema gets comfortable with the character. Most of it is inked by Ernie Chan. He's the inker on the book. But as you can see from earlier on, Buscema's still trying to capture what Conan should look like. You know, he's not as... I've said this before, and it's kind of weird, but Barry Windsor Smith's Conan was kind of pretty in a way. This guy actually looks like a barbarian the way that John Buscema drew him. Look at that. Compared to almost the clean cut, but still wonderful art of Barry Windsor Smith, John Buscema just came in and like changed. This is who I think of when I think of Conan. Now, as far as the stories, it seems like here, Roy Thomas, I remember in an intro in the Omnibus when I read this for the first time, so this is in volume 2 of the Omnibus, they were running out of stories from Robert E. Howard. So there's some adaptations. This is what I meant by one page. So this is all that's collected, the material from Conan the Barbarian, the giant size issue. So again, the cover, see what I mean by pretty? I mean, yeah, he still has like scars, but I don't know. He just looks different than Buscema's. And then, of course, the map of the Hyborian Age. What was I saying? Oh, yes. So it seems like they were running out of stories, Robert E. Howard stories to tell, and adapting. So they started adapting other stories, including other stories that didn't feature Conan. So they kind of replaced them with Conan. They started adapting other stories from Conan that were not written by Robert E. Howard. Or there's a specific story in here. I think it's The Shadow in the Tomb. That one there was written by Howard, I think, but he didn't finish writing it, so somebody had to finish it. But the main story here, the one that this particular epic collection is named after, is... Here, let's get to it, actually. The Curse of the Golden Skull. Even has an awesome name to it. This one stands out to me, and I'm sure a lot of people, because this one is drawn by Neil Adams. So you have Roy Thomas, of course, writing it, but then you have Neil Adams step in as a guest artist. And much like Buscema, you know, he draws this rugged Conan. But damn, this is so good. This is some top stellar stuff. I love the action sequences. I love the story. And then you have Neil Adams, of course. Look at all these little panels, man. That's crazy. I don't see that many panels in modern comics these days. Of course, that's an unfair statement because storytelling is a lot different these days. But it's like, you know, you definitely get your money's worth for books like this. So it is dialogue heavy, and I know that it's weird to say, but that is a turnoff for some people. But man, is Conan awesome. There's some awesome lines in here, too. But, you know, still big John Buscema drawing 90% of the book. And let's look in the back here for some extras. So that's awesome. They actually made coins, the Marvel medallions. Very cool. The book has 336 pages and retails for $39.99. That's awesome. Gil, please return these copies. These are copies of John Buscema's, like photocopies of his art. I wonder if Gil ever returned them. Yeah, of course he's talking to Gil Kane. And then, oh yeah, the standard edition cover to the Omnibus, Volume 2. So we've already have a Volume 5 solicited of Conan the Barbarian. Comes out next year. I think we have one more towards the end of this year. Last, but certainly not least, is the Fantastic Four Heroes Return Complete Collection, Volume 3. So this is it. Well, this gets us further. Continuing this run of the Fantastic Four that started off by Scott Lobdell, and then Chris Claremont. Eventually, John Francis Moore took over the book, and actually, John Francis Moore's final issues are in this particular collection. So, what is this? When does this take place? Well, remember the whole Onslaught ordeal where Volume 1 of the Fantastic Four ended? And then they got restarted with the Heroes Reborn when Wildstorm or Image creators leased them out, or got to lease them out for a year. So it was Jim Lee, and then eventually Brett Booth took over the book. But this is when the heroes came back. So there was a miniseries called Heroes Return. Hey, there's a whole omnibus for all that stuff. So, and trade paperbacks. So this is Volume 3 of the Heroes Return era. So by now we have a new character named Valeria. She's the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman. And what's going on right here is John Francis Moore's final story arc. And it's drawn by Salvador La Roca. So Salvador La Roca is one of the artists that helped kickstart this particular era. Now, Salvador La Roca leaves, and in comes Carlos Pacheco. Carlos Pacheco comes in with Rafael Marin, and both of them are the writers on this. And I'm not sure who did the dialogue or not, but both of them did the writing on Fantastic Four for a little bit, reintroducing us to the character of Diablo. He comes back, and to me, this is my favorite era of Carlos Pacheco's artwork. This is around the time that he was doing Avengers Forever. It was the Aerosmith stories that he was doing with Kurt Busiek. And then this phenomenal art right here. I love his artwork here. And I know, he's evolved, and just like most artists do. But this is the type that I like. So this collects Fantastic Four. Keep in mind, this is Volume 3 Fantastic Four. Not this book, but Volume 3 of the numbering system when it was renumbered. 33 through 45, the fourth Voyage of Sinbad, and then the Inhumans miniseries. So I'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. Now, as of issue, I think 37 or 38, Jeff Loeb joins them. And Jeff Loeb starts writing the script, the actual dialogue for the books. So the characters start sounding more and more like themselves. Not that Marin or Pacheco were bad at it. It was just that they needed something a little bit extra. So that's what Jeff Loeb adds. And then he starts co-plotting the stories with them. Now, some of these stories have already been released in trade paperback format. Had to go check on my shelves, and sure enough, we had Flesh and Stone, and we had Into the Breach. Yes, I can finally replace these old-ass trade paperbacks. My gosh. Collecting 35 through 39 and 40 through 45. However, I cannot replace this one quite yet, because this collects issues 51 through 54 of the Fantastic Four. So we do have enough material still left for a complete collection Volume 4, or enough material for an omnibus. That would be awesome. So this does collect one of my most favorite underrated miniseries. Man, actually, let's get there, because I do want you to be surprised whenever you read these story arcs here. You have fill-in artists like Jeff Johnson. You have fill-in artists like Joe Bennett, or I think Mike McCone does some of the fill-in art too. But for the most part, it is the phenomenal Carlos Pacheco. Now, the Voyages of Sinbad here. This is drawn by Pasquale Ferry, and it is written by Chris Claremont. So Chris Claremont does get to come back to the Fantastic Four and write this particular story. And it's a one-shot, that's all it is. But it's a giant-sized one-shot. So I think it was 64 pages, if I'm not mistaken. Then, yes, right here, we get to this miniseries. Now, there's a big war going on for the Inhumans, and this is written by Marin and Pacheco, but it's Ladron's artwork that really steals the show. And Ladron was an artist. He'd been drawing some stuff for Marvel for a while, and he did Cable. And I remember when I had quit reading comics, and I went to a comic book shop, and I looked at one of his Cable comics, and I was like, I picked a good time to leave comics. I was a fool. That was, I was in my 20s, and it wasn't until my late 20s, early 30s that I started getting into Jack Kirby's artwork and learning to appreciate what he did. And this man right here captures his art. What are those? Those look like negatives or a bad scan. So they usually put thumbnails of the covers without any of the lettering. So I think that's a printer mistake there. So I thought those were negatives, because I can't imagine them doing any variant covers like this. So yeah, I think this is a printer mistake. It's the only one I've seen. So yes, Ladron comes in, draws 3 issues. He couldn't finish it, of this Inhuman series that is highly underrated. To me, he kills it. He brings in a lot of characters. Of course, the Kree are involved whenever we're talking about a war. And then the final issue is drawn by Jorge Pereira Lucas, who has a very similar style. I mean, colors do help. But that's what the miniseries looks like. But man, Ladron, he was on a whole different level. Love his artwork. Now, the book retails for $39.99 and has 456 pages. As far as the extras in the back, I don't think there are any except for this right here, which is just the cover to a Wizard magazine, Wizard 114. And that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing any of these books, don't forget to check out our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They pride themselves on packaging your books so they arrive safely and in excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. Check out the bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. CGN is excited to announce that they are now taking pre-orders. They're making it easier for you to ensure that you don't miss out on the hottest releases. CGN is currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, let them know that you were referred by Near Mint Condition at the checkout, and you'll receive a credit for free shipping on your next order. This promotion is valid for U.S. customers only. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount and quality shipping and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content and page count of each of these trades. Let me know in the comments down below which ones you're picking up, which ones you're hoping one day will be an oversized hardcover format or an omnibus format. Well, I mean, Conan already is, but you know what I mean. King in Black, fingers crossed, and of course, Heroes Return, Fantastic Four. Again, this was the Uncanny Omar. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, ring that bell for notifications to let you know when our videos are going live. And speaking of live, tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Wonder Matter returns with Old Reader, New Reader. And once again, everyone, please stay healthy, stay safe, and much love.